kind of like walk around like this.
I miss you.
Let me close the door here.
No, I don't want to sound like a Hilary Swank stalker, but
Hi, I'm Hilary Swank, and I play Emma Green.
We will return home.
So the script was sent to me, and I, first of all, wanted to be an astronaut before I wanted to be an actor. But I think when you have the idea as a kid of being an astronaut, you kind of like walk around like this in a spacesuit. It kind of felt childlike, and it was fun to do.
And my involvement began from the moment I read Chris's article in Esquire magazine called The Way, and it was about the astronaut Scott Kelly and the time that he spent in the International Space Station.
Yeah, I think the article talks about how astronauts need to have tethers. They call it tethers to the Earth. And those are the people that keep them going out there.
One of the moments in the article talks about how Scott was up there when his sister-in-law was shot. And so what it is to be on a different planet from your family when they need you the most.
Take the shot.
Ladies and gentlemen, one last time before they launch to the moon, the crew of the Atlas, our inaugural mission to Mars.
We were all there, and that was our first scene, and I was walking up the stairs with Hilary and Josh, and we were kind of like, hi, how are you? Yeah. And then I tripped on my first take, so that was great.
Our first day of filming was actually the first time we were all on screen together, where we're at the press conference, and so it was just a nice way to sort of get us into what we were about to face, I guess. The first thing we did when we arrived, for the first few weeks, we were put into wire work rehearsals, and you're like, I don't know if I can pull this off in a few weeks. Like, I can hardly stand up in this thing.
One of the harder things that was more challenging that I realized is that making zero gravity look effortless took a lot of effort.
look, I'm a guy, I get in the gym and stuff like that. So I'm like, I got this, right? But going up on those wires, you use muscles that you didn't know you had.
So when we squeeze our abs, we go back like this, but then you have to not make that sound. And then when you squeeze your glutes, you go forward.
So every day we just did a little bit more, and then 3 weeks later we were up at the top of the studio, like flying around, and it was incredible.
It was funny to see how each of us, when we were training, you could see the character of each one. So Vivian was very elegant, she was very Tai Chi-like, and Hilary was very kind of forward and powerful. And I was show off.
And before we started shooting, I actually checked myself into a Tai Chi place. I wanted to learn how one can move in a very graceful slowliness.
I didn't mean it.
She meant, how's it feeling? No, it doesn't feel good. Feels like a car engine about to go kerchunk.
3 weeks, just keep it running 3 more weeks and we'll have a brand new water system waiting for us on Mars.
Why would you say that?
Excuse me?
Because this doesn't even land for another hour. You're just assuming it's safely on the ground.
No, I wasn't assuming anything.
Jinx it. No one's jinxing anything.
And when you're doing an emotional scene where you have to, have a monologue that you're saying, and then you have to think of all these other kind of physical attributes that go along with it, it was a great challenge.
I know that for myself, when it had to come to a very emotional scene, I would suggest, okay, so in this moment, my feet can be held by something so that I can focus on the emotion.
I really liked doing the spacewalks.
I did the moonwalk, because you had to, right?
It was kind of like acting 101. Like, you go back into the sandbox because you are completely acting like you're seeing these, whatever it is that's in front of you. And I felt like that was really fun.
I just sort of looked around at the magic of movie making, and that we were on this small piece of, I don't know what it was, but it looked like the moon, and with all the lights and then these astronauts.
I was standing on that set on my own, and I was just having a moment to myself, and Jess somehow caught this moment and sent me the photo, and it's You dream as a kid, like, of being an astronaut, or being in space and the whole mystery of it. And then to be on something, it's the closest I'm going to get to the moon.
Say cheese, astronaut. Live in 5, 4.
What am I supposed to say?
3. Just be you. 1.
We spoke to a lot of astronauts, and we got to go actually down to Mission Control in Houston.
I believe we may have been the first television show to ever film there. And it's sort of this idea of we got to do an extraordinary amount of research with the most generous, brilliant people, but it was always with an eye to what is the emotional human story that we're telling. We had a former astronaut, Mike Massimino, who helped us a lot. He's just the nicest human in the world. And he told us that he became an astronaut, wanted to become an astronaut because of the film The Right Stuff.
They were looking to try to capture some of the emotion, backstory, family situation behind traveling in space and what it's like before you leave and saying goodbye to your family.
He also had a really fun way with us where we would pitch him an idea like something breaks. And he would, if he thought the idea was not within the realm of reality, he would say, well, that's a sporty idea. So that's how we sort of learned what we couldn't do.
Mike was so funny. He had such a great sense of humor, and he wore these socks that had planets on them. And so I got all these socks with like the solar system and like the constellation and stuff, because you don't wear shoes when you're up in space. And I used that as part of my character.
I didn't do that on purpose. I generally think socks are a fun thing, right? But it's funny what people will remember and what they connect with.
The other side of it is it's this great love story. It's this beautiful connection between friends and family.
I got you a present.
I think that's so beautiful, and it really represents a mother and daughter relationship. And it kind of gets us through the whole season in a way, because we see their bond.
In that article, Jess, maybe you remember, but the last line of the article was talking about how she'll need to be honest and she'll need to be courageous. But the final line is, but she'll also need to be in love because we need her to come back home. And it's sort of, that was a big part of why I wanted to make the show and why the point of view is different. And I think why, when we watch it, those stories on Earth with Alexis and Matt and with all the loved ones of the astronauts are as compelling as these kind of amazing stories in space.
She needs to know that her family's taken care of. I got it covered. Do you?
Dad!
What's wrong?
An hour ago, Matt had an event. We think it was a stroke. He had to be intubated, and he's still critical.
We all agreed right off the bat. It wasn't science fiction. It wasn't really about space. The central part of the story is that it's about humanity. It's about what we do with each other and what we do when we're tested.
Where like sci-fi shows, I feel like usually get into the action and the drama and aliens or whatever, all this weird stuff that's going on. And this is actually very realistic. And I feel like I could actually see this happening in the future in a way.
We're both really specific and really careful with everything. And at the same time, nothing is more thrilling than handing scripts over to these amazing directors and designers and actors, because they just amplify everything.
So all these departments just really help to keep the consistency of the show.
It's been really collaborative, the whole process, just kind of letting everyone like do their best work and really get involved in it. Josh Charles's character Matt is playing the piano in a few scenes. It was actually Hilary's idea to incorporate the melody of that piano piece into one of the cues. We kind of use it as a little tool every now and again. But a lot of the score is really reflective of the tone of the show, which is quite internal and introspective.
The writers and the creators are so collaborative and allowing me to be an executive producer with them and help create the storylines and be a part of that process.
We had a lot of conversations with our writers, producers, creative team. They were super open-minded.
where Vivian's character is doing calligraphy. We were going through it and we were about to shoot the scene, and she mentions this really authentic detail because she is like a master calligrapher.
It was very true to my cultural, which I think it's so respectful and so refreshing.
Making a movie or a TV show, and my experiences in doing that, are very much like putting on a space flight. Everyone has got a role, everyone contributes. The actors are kind of like the astronauts. That's who you see. But we have a flight director, and there is a real director. So there's a lot of similarities.
我想你。我也特别想你。Emma's 20 million miles from the people she loves.
Now from space, we're able to call home. So the connection is really important. So even though you are far away, there are ways where we can keep that line of communication going.
I love you. And I'm so scared that you're leaving me. But I'm also mad. Why did you have to do this?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I left you.
Those emotions of being apart, of not being able to touch the people you love, of having to watch them on Zoom, of like technology being your only means of communication have just become so much more powerful in this moment.
I'm falling apart here in isolation, you know.
So we've come a long way, and we've realized that these things are really important to stay connected as best as you can. And with the way, I think that is a pretty important element of it.
Okay, have a good day.
Thanks.
See you guys.
A bit of a call away. I'm going to salute.
Now, 2001: A Space Odyssey has been called the best film ever made. The Star Wars movies make up a billion-dollar franchise fueled by rabid, obsessive fans. Even the highest-grossing film of all time, Avatar, is a sci-fi film. Yet, despite the frequent acclaim and fandom that science fiction movies attract, no sci-fi film has ever won the Academy Award for Best Picture. Maybe in the not-so-distant future?